There's a stage in learning any language where the progress that you could feel at the start just stops. You're not a beginner anymore, but you're nowhere near fluent, and every week feels the same as the last. It's the point where most people give up, and it's almost always a misunderstanding of what's actually happening. The first thing to understand is that at the beginning, progress is loud, it's exciting. Every day you learn to do something you literally couldn't do yesterday, whether that's say hello, count up to 10, order a coffee, and it all feels fantastic. But that energy, that excitement can't last because you run out of firsts. At an intermediate level, you already know most of the everyday words. The progress hasn't stopped, it's just gone a bit quiet. And you're now getting better at things that you can already do a bit. And that kind of progress is real, but it just doesn't seem as big. So the first step is to stop measuring yourself against that rush of being a beginner. That's gone. And its absence is not a failure. What you need to do is change what you measure, change what you count. As a beginner, you tend to count words that you've learned. Stop. Start counting things that you can do. A phone call that you've managed to handle, a film that you've watched and understood without subtitles, or a joke that you got. These are intermediate wins, and you have to look for them or you won't see them. If you don't know me, I'm Mark from Coffee Break Languages. I've learned 10 or so languages over the years, taught hundreds of thousands of learners, and believe me, I've experienced many plateaus. You should also think about going deeper, not wider. I think the temptation at the plateau, this intermediate plateau, is to keep piling on new vocabulary, but the faster route is to take something that you already half know and make it really solid, comfortable and automatic. Fluency isn't about knowing more words, it's about using the words that you do know without hesitating. You also need to get out of your depth deliberately, because the plateau is where things are comfortable, and that's actually the problem. Deliberately reach for something slightly too hard, a real conversation, a native podcast, a book for adults, not learners. And you may understand less of it, but that discomfort is exactly the thing that starts you climbing again and moving off the plateau. I was reminded of all this on my first trip to Ljubljana in Slovenia. Now, I have been lucky to spend much of my life surrounded by languages, learning lots of different languages, even little bits of languages. So it's quite rare that I land somewhere where I understand absolutely nothing. But in Slovenia, I did, and I loved every minute of it. Suddenly, everything was a puzzle again. My first Dober dan, working out what street signs meant, deciphering menus and eavesdropping on conversations to recognise one or two words. And every time I managed a little bit of the Slovenian, račun prosim, the bill please, I got a smile back, and that tiny bit of connection made me want to learn more. It reminded me that the beginner's excitement isn't really about being a beginner, it's about being fully engaged. And the thing is, you can choose to be that engaged at any level if you're willing to be a little bit lost. So this week, if you're finding yourself on that plateau, write down 3 things that you can do now that you couldn't do a year ago. Take one thing that you half know and drill it until it's easy. And pick one thing that's just a little bit too hard for you and dive in. So let's recap. The plateau isn't your progress stopping, it's your progress going a little bit quiet. So change what you count. Go deeper instead of wider, and get out of your depth on purpose, because the climb is still there. You just have to look for the footholds. I've put these 3 tips on a single page that you can pin up by your desk if you feel stuck, and the link's in the description. And if this video helped, do subscribe for more. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy coffee breaking.